The 2018 Sprott Natural Resources Symposium continues. Today is day 3, and I'm joined by SUNM Metals President and CEO Steve Robertson. Steve, great to have you here today.
Great to be here.
Well, we'll be talking about precious metals, in particular gold, as well as copper today. But I want to start out by taking a look at your company and your project Stardust. Could you enlighten the viewers on what this project entails and some of the technical expertise that goes into this?
Okay, well, Stardust is a great project. It's located at home here in British Columbia, northern BC. If you were going to pick a spot to have a mine, I think this would be the spot. It's well located in terms of logistics. We can drive a car right up onto the property. It's only 4 hours outside of Prince George. We've got a rail line 38 kilometers to the west, power 38 kilometers to the west. Low-lying topography, we don't have any precipitous terrain, so it's not like a lot of parts in the province where they have 40 or 50 feet of snow in the winter. We get 3 or 4 feet of snow in the winter. So logistically, it's very well located. It's in a good neighborhood. We've got the Chemes mine about 200 kilometers to the north, Mount Milligan 120 kilometers to the southeast, so good geological endowment in the area as well.
And there's always risks as well as opportunities when it comes to projects. So could you give us a little bit of an overview regarding Stardust?
Yeah, well, I would say that risks are becoming a bigger and bigger issue for mining across the globe, and we're seeing flight to quality. A lot of companies are starting to look at political risk and which jurisdiction they invest in, and BC is starting to rise up on the pole in terms of being one of the better places in the world where investors want to put their money, because they do have rule of law here in BC. Might take a little bit longer to get permits, but you wake up in the morning knowing that you still own your deposit, and you can't say that in a lot of places in the world. So as a result, we're seeing companies that haven't been here for decades coming back and starting to kick the tires on some of the smaller projects and looking at investing in BC. So from that perspective, I think that it's a timely thing for Stardust. The other thing is that a lot of the big projects that have been built are low grade and have these multi-billion-dollar capital costs, and companies are starting to have very little tolerance for these cost overruns on the big projects. So the other flight to quality, not only political risk, but also commodities, they're looking to invest in projects that have higher grade and lower capital risk when they go to build a mine. So I think Stardust really fills the bill on both of those things.
And you mentioned capital, so I do want to ask about SUNM Metals finances. Could you tell us a little bit about your capital structure?
Sure. We just went public this spring. We did a reverse takeover of a shell. Started to trade on May the 8th, and so we've only been a couple months on the market. We did a $6.5 million financing when we went public, so we're fully funded for the 2018 season and in pretty good shape moving forward.
And I'm sure that potential investors would like to know about your management team as well as your technical team. So could you enlighten us?
Yeah, well, we've got the dream team on both the business side and the technical side, so it's really a good position to be in. First of all, the company is backed by Oxygen Group. So on the board of directors, we've got Mark O'Day, Donald McGuinness, and Sean Tetzlaff, who are the 3 principals behind the Oxygen Group. Those are the same guys that were behind Frontier Gold, which they took from zero to a $2.3 billion takeover in 2010 by Newmont. So good technical expertise also comes into the play here, because we've got guys like Peter McGaw, who's the world's leading authority in carbonate replacement deposits and one of the founders of Mag Silver. He's the chair of our technical advisory committee. Jerry Ray is Mr. Skarn. He wrote one of the classic Skarn bulletins that everybody who's looking for a Skarn deposit anywhere in the world's got a copy of his bulletin sitting on their shelf. He's on the technical advisory committee. And I think very importantly, we were able to recruit Ian Neal, who was the 2003 Prospector of the Year with PDAC for his discovery of a couple of massive sulfide deposits in Nunavut. He's our VP of Exploration and leading the technical charge.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of expertise there, Steve. So last but not least, before I let you go, in this conference, I'm sure you've been talking to other companies, other exhibitors, as well as some of the attendees. And I'm sure there's been plenty of conversation about gold as well as copper. But when it comes to your fundamental outlook, what do you expect to see?
Well, I love the fact that we're particularly focused on copper. I mean, copper really, it's been historically known as the red metal. It should be known as the green metal, because it is the fundamental building block for the green evolution that's going on right now. All the electricity-based transitions that we see in terms of both transportation and other forms of energy consumption. The grid that's going to have to be rebuilt here in North America and across the world as we see more and more electricity being consumed, it's all going to take copper, and we also see more and more pressure on the supply side. The world's largest copper deposit is down in Chile, and their head grade is now less than a third of what it was when they started operation. And we're seeing this trend across the globe. It's of course more difficult to permit mines as well as find mines, and so I really feel comfortable that copper is the best place to be in, and gold of course is never going to go away, especially if we have instability in the marketplace. And right now, I'd say globally, there's quite a bit of instability, and probably more to come. So, gold is always a good place to be, and just creates a good 1-2 punch with copper.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for insights. As you mentioned, we are seeing plenty of geopolitical as well as political instability around the world, so we probably shouldn't pay so much attention to spot gold prices. Thank you so much for your insight, and thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you, Remy.
Thank you.